You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Who doesn't like a good butt tattoo?
Just saying.
All right,
you don't always want your priest to have one. But...
I guess not.
Oh, well.
Well, everybody, welcome to Hip and Humble Podcast.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm Aram.
And I'm Mom.
And we want to welcome you to our show. We talk about all things antique and collectibles. Before we get started, we want to thank our sponsor, Hip and Humble Antiques, LLC. We have 3 locations, 2 in Virginia, 1 in Oklahoma, or just outside Oklahoma City. And, of course, for those of you that are not all about driving, we have a store on Etsy. And if you have time, please go and check us out. If we don't have anything that tickles your fancy at the moment, I promise we will soon. And the locations are Oldies But Goodies in downtown Fredericksburg, and Boswell's Corner Antiques in Stafford, and the Rink Gallery in Bethany, Oklahoma.
And the Rink has got some awesome new merchandise. We just sold one of these beautiful 10-foot tall doors, and we've got a few more, so I know that they'll be going out to the shop sometime soon. But Angie has really done great, and she's put a beautiful little kids back-to-school scene together there.
Oh, yeah.
And so she's got, the school desk and just all kinds of fun stuff. So
really, really cute stuff.
You really got to go out and check it out.
We also want to thank the Going Solo Network for putting us on, and all the listeners that we've gotten through them. And we just want to thank all of you guys so much for tuning in and giving us a listen. And it really means so much to us. And if you guys would like to support us or support the Going Solo Network, please consider clicking the link for our Patreon page and contributing to our show. All right. Yeah. So we've kind of been talking about radio history for a little while now, and
radio and communications
and
how that fits in.
Yeah, and it's been really, really fun, and there's so much on this topic, but
and we'll circle back.
I'm sure we'll circle back, but I think we're gonna move on after this week for now, and we might talk about something fun.
Maybe. Do you want to play a game?
Let's play a game.
What kind of game? Tiddlywinks?
Tiddlywinks, huh?
Shoots and ladders?
Shoots and ladders? I like shoots and ladders.
Bingo!
Bingo could be fun.
That's right. It can be fun.
It could be fun. I worked at a bingo hall for a little while.
When?
Right when I got out of the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah. I was fixing the bingo computers.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, were you over there helping those little old ladies stamp their cards?
I wasn't helping them stamp their cards. No, but they had the cards, and they also had those the little tiny bingo computers, and they would just hit the button. That's what my job was, to fix those little bingo computers.
So instead of stamping a card, you just push a button?
Yeah, just push a button, yeah.
Well, that kind of feels like cheating a little bit.
A little bit. But they still had the card. They still had the cards too. And I'll tell you, some of those ladies, they came religiously.
Yeah, I hear that a lot of folks are really serious.
They're very serious about bingo. It is not a joke to them at all.
Well, I like a good rousting game of bingo every once in a bit.
They'd spend so much money, and they'd win like $500 or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that much.
No.
I like my money.
Yeah.
In my pocket.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
Not a gambler.
No. No, I'm not either. I'm just not a fan
Aram
of it.
and I, we went to...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we went to one of the new casinos when it opened up over here in D.C. Well, it's right in Maryland, so but right over the river. And so anyway, we go in and we get our little card, and they give you $10 free or something like that on your card.
Something like that.
So when I say I'm not a gambler, I really am not a gambler. So we go in to do, I think it was the penny slots.
Yeah, we went there was nickel slots.
Nickel
slots, yeah.
And I think I went 3 times and got $50. Aram hit one time and got $54 or something like that.
And I was like, I'm done. Double the money.
We're out.
Yeah.
So
that was so cool.
That was the end of that.
Yeah. I'm just not, I have friends who are really, really into it and they spend time and it just doesn't appeal to me. I like going to the casino because they're neat to look at.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. And I think if you go into the casino as an entertainment and go, hey, I have $20. This is what I would spend on a movie.
Exactly.
And when my $20 is gone, so am I.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was very short, but it was fun. Then we went and ate lunch and spent $50 on hot dogs or something.
Something ridiculous.
Because it's Disney World food there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the equipment that they had there was really advanced, especially the stuff that they used for the intercom system and everything. It was really interesting the way that it got set up. And that kind of ties us back to our topic, which is the radio equipment history.
But our teaser were toys.
Our teaser was toys. If you guys couldn't have guessed from our games talk.
That's right.
Yeah, we might be talking about some vintage toys. So please, next week, tune in so you can find out.
That's right.
But back to our topic, all audio broadcasting, including podcasts, came from radio. And radio's come such a long way. It's funny because nowadays, when it comes to FM and AM radio, I don't listen to it as much. And I think it's because there's so many other options for listening to podcasts and music and things like that where you don't have to...
Well, I think it's also that, when you're driving down the road, if you're on long trips, like I take a lot of times, and I'm listening to a radio station and 100 miles later, I've got static.
Oh, yeah.
And that's annoying. So, if I'm listening to the satellite radio, I got the same whatever I want.
It's consistent,
It's consistent. And I can hear it. Without...
But yeah, like I got to say earlier, there's just so much to this topic of radio, and we really could start a second podcast and devote it completely to radio history.
We could, but we're not going to.
But there was just so many inventions and people that propelled this industry and communication to the places it's gone today, and it's still expanding. You're hearing this podcast now because of the inventions we've talked about and the people that were lucky and brave enough to push their ideas forward.
That's a good thing. Brave enough.
Absolutely.
It takes a lot of bravery.
Absolutely,
for a new idea.
It does. It's funny to think that the radio waves too, they were actually discovered in the early 18th century, the 18th century, but the scientific community at the time, they didn't think it was relevant technology.
Right.
It wasn't until Guglielmo Marconi tried to expand the distance he could transmit radio waves in the late 17th century that anyone gave this technology a second look. I've been fascinated by history my whole life, and all my interest and research has led me to believe that culture, technology, sociology, and people in general are defined more by what they don't know.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, that's not to say that people haven't always been intelligent. Yeah, they've always been intelligent and utilized.
Well, no, but when you don't know something, then it piques your interest, and then you develop the skills to be able to find out what you don't know.
Right. And I think the discoveries of different eras have really defined the attitude and the culture.
Yeah.
I think people talk about all the issues of today, and I always take a step back because I always like to take a step back whenever I hear about these new issues in really any category, because it's like, okay, what do we not know at this point? Because 10 years from now, we're going to know so much more on this topic. So,
Yeah. Well, I think the issues and stuff today are really more moral issues and not so much scientific issues.
Yeah, in a lot of the cases, I could agree for sure. But back to our topic, I want to start off by talking about Frank Conrad.
Frank Conrad.
He was the first person to set up a radio station.
Wow.
Yeah, just after World War I, he developed further the transmitter, the radio transmitter, and he actually started it out of his garage, and he just started pushing out.
Just like those computer guys.
Yeah, just like those computer guys.
That's where they got it. They were like, hey, let's follow Mr. Conrad's idea and do stuff in our garage.
Yeah, Apple started that way. Amazon started that way. Yeah, lots of people start out in garages. Yeah. Garages are pretty good spots.
Yeah, apparently they inspire creativity.
Yeah, but he overdeveloped the radio transmitter.
He overdeveloped?
Not overdeveloped. He innovated. There we go. That's a better word.
Innovated.
He innovated the radio transmitter, and it pushed out so much more. It pushed out the radio waves so much further, to the point where he was actually transmitting. He was in Pittsburgh, and he was transmitting all the way up to New Hampshire. And he started bringing on high school music groups to come sing, and he would play records, and eventually he started reporting the scores to sports. And that, on the night of November 2nd in 1920, what really kind of piqued the interest of people and sparked this as a nationalized culture was on November 2nd, 1920, Conrad and his Westinghouse associates announced that Warren G. Harding had defeated James Cox to become the next president. The message was heard, as like I said, as far north as New Hampshire and as far down as Louisiana. And after that, the federal government actually granted the call letters KDKA to the Pittsburgh station, and that's when a new industry was born.
Yep, that's when government regulation began on radio.
Yeah, that's right. But by the end, this was in 1920, but by the end of 1922, there were over 500 different radio stations. Yeah, radio was
copycatters.
Yeah, radio was so enticing because radio was so enticing to the public too, because after the initial purchase of the radio, listening was free, because that's whenever advertisements started paying for the radio stations.
Radio stations, yep.
Mm-hmm. Advertising corporate advertising is what gives us free things to listen to. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, by the end of the
circle of life.
Yeah, by the end of the 20s, corporations were paying up to $10,000 to radio stations for an hour of primetime radio space.
That's quite a lot. But then when you think about like the Super Bowl ads and how there's like $1 million or $2 million.
I think it's like $2.4 million for
30 seconds.
Something like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah, we talked about the company RCA last week, and the RCA is the company that has the Nipper dog with the phonograph. Am I saying that wrong thing again?
You know what? I had a couple come in the store today, and that's what they were looking for, was a phonograph.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were looking for a phonograph, and then they also wanted like a 1940s, 50s, 60s hi-fi.
Oh, wow.
Which those are, my mom and dad, they had like a hi-fi record player.
Yeah.
And it had a radio in it too. But it was a large piece of furniture.
Yeah.
So, I remember it was kind of sitting whenever you'd come in the house. So it was kind of almost like a buffet kind of looking thing. And you'd lift the whole thing up and had the record player, and then the speakers were in there.
Oh, I saw that at the antique show up in Pennsylvania.
Well, Mom had Elvis records.
Oh, wow.
Tons of Elvis records.
Controversy right there.
Yeah. Love those Elvis records. But I remember we'd put the Elvis records on the record player, and my brother would go in there and sing Elvis.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot of fun, but a lot of fun memories with that. But this couple came in specifically looking for a phonograph, and they wanted a hi-fi.
Wow.
So... there are people that I guess collect them.
Yeah, they're very, very collectible, especially the patrols that we talked about last week.
And they also wanted a hand cranked phone.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, hey, are you in luck? Because I happen to have a hand cranked phone.
That's right.
And we do at the downtown Fredericksburg. We have a hand cranked phone that you screw onto the wall, but ours actually works.
Yeah.
So if you are in the dark ages, like a lot of people that are
There's
great
nothing
people,
wrong with that.
Hey,
There's nothing wrong with that.
I like the dark ages. They're calm. But if you have a landline, this one actually works. You can plug it into your landline and talk on the phone.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
You know, the first radio stations, the way that they were established is they started reserving telephone lines. RCA actually created America's first radio broadcasting company, NBC.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah, they did it by licensing the telephone lines. And obviously last week we talked about how they launched the first national ad campaign. That's how they were able to do it, because they licensed the telephone.
So that's when their big corporation began.
Mm-hmm. That's when NBC began. Yeah, radio really created the first national entertainment culture as well, because up to that point in history, like we've been saying, nobody could talk. You couldn't, unless you were talking on the phone directly to someone that you knew on the other side of the country. You couldn't hear the same thing at the same time. Whenever radio became national, it broadcast nationally, it was the first time that people all over the country could hear the same thing at the same time. And so it influenced the culture. People from all corners of the country, they listened to the same sporting events, the same news. The styles of clothing and the fads, they actually became less regionalized. They became more national because of radio. Yeah.
Yep.
And we wanted to expand a little bit. I wanted to expand a little bit on the radio stations and that propulsion in the industry. But we also wanted to talk this week about some of the equipment that they used. And the microphones actually were they're still very collectible, and they are fantastic.
Do you have any of those?
I don't have any.
You have some radio equipment though. What kind of radio equipment do you have?
So I have XLR mics, and I have like the recording converter to USB. So the XLR is basically the box that the mics plug into, and then you can plug the box into the computer so that you can record what you're saying. It's actually what we're using right now.
Well, they have, another part of the entertainment industry there with radio were all the shows.
Oh, yeah.
All the, I guess, I don't know if they'd be syndicated shows or...
Well, they're just called radio shows.
Radio shows.
Yeah.
So, Fibber McGee,
mm-hmm.
or Fibber McGee and Molly.
Yeah.
And then you've got Amos and Andy, the Bell Telephone Hour. Now, there's some advertising for you.
That is pretty interesting, yeah.
Camel Caravan, Campbell's Playhouse, Famous Jury Trials.
Wow.
That would be interesting.
That would be really, really cool.
Father Knows Best. The Fred Allen Show, Betty and Bob, the FBI in Peace and War.
The coolest thing about those radio shows, and kind of getting back into the equipment that they used, during those radio shows, whenever characters would enter into different scenes, or they would have a setting that they wanted to portray, they actually had these sound engineers basically, but they weren't called that.
No, they probably weren't called that, and most of the time the actors would pretty much just be sitting around, and everybody would maybe have sound things, and they used all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So you could clap your hands for lightning or whatever. But Lucille Ball had a radio show.
Mm-hmm.
So before, the Lucille Ball TV show, she was on the radio.
Yeah.
So Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke
would be awesome to listen to.
Oh, for sure. And all the people that made sounds on those radio shows back in the day, they were called bit actors. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were hired to create sounds that became like oral cues for the radio shows, like opening and closing doors, knocking on doors, rains, clashing of swords, knives. Sometimes they would have up to 4 people producing sounds or practicing making sounds at a time. It's funny because now, I can go into an editing software and pick up 15 sounds and put them all in different places in any audio track ever. All these different sounds are recorded and manipulated, and you can, widen them, soften them, so on and so forth. But back then, they had to create the sounds with what they had around them.
Yeah.
And so as the skill of creating these sounds evolved, a lot of these guys would they would become niche. So there were certain comedy sound bit actors versus dramatic sound bit actors or horror sound bit actors. And when I was saying nowadays you can use sound editing software to put sounds in almost instantly into any track. Back then they would search for weeks for different sounds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, it was an art form, really.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like you're producing a play, but nobody can see you. So you've got to make everybody hear what's going on. Mm-hmm. So, in a play, when you're visually looking at something, you've got all those nuance cues or, kind of information that everybody knows.
Right. Yeah, because
everybody knows that you just opened a door.
Right.
Which could be opened silently. But on a radio, you got to open the door.
Yeah.
So that you hear it.
I actually during high school, whenever we did drama, or when I was in a drama class, we had to write and make a radio show, and we had to be our own bit actors. So we would have to make our own sounds with the things that we had available. I think we had this old cooler that would open it up, and it made this huge creaking sound every time you would open it up and close it. And so we used it. Most of the teams used it for different entrance and exit scenes and stuff like that. But it was a really, really cool experience. Although it really enlightened how difficult it was, because there was so many different sounds and things that you would put in to establish presence or establish scenery and so on and so forth. And it took a lot of work.
More thinking,
it's
I think.
a lot more creative.
Yeah, a lot more creative.
A lot more creative.
But I'm sitting here looking through some of these, was it from the 1930s radio shows? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of interesting how we still have some of these.
Oh, yeah.
Or they've still been around. The $64,000 question. So, that's been a game show.
Oh, yeah.
Before.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
Always a favorite.
Always a good one.
Battle of the Sexes.
That is
how many
a tale as old as
times
time.
has that, been reborn?
That's a tale as old as time.
Yep. Charlie Chan.
Wow.
Dick Tracy. Also was a TV show. Mm-hmm. Dracula. Dragnet. Fireside Chats.
Wow.
So the presidents used to do fireside chats, and we still hear about, we're going to have a fireside chat. We're going to have what do they call them now? Whenever they
State try of the Union?
Whenever they're doing their little spiels and they're talking to the everyday person.
I don't know.
Well, it's whenever the president's going, they're going to talk to the everyday person, and they have supposedly
a press conference, maybe?
No, it's whenever they're standing on stage and then you've got people all around and they fire off questions to them, like a teacher from Ohio and then a plumber from Pittsburgh, or I don't know. It'll come to me. Hallmark Playhouse, which personally I think is where the Hallmark Channel probably began.
That makes sense to me.
It does.
Lone
Ranger. There
we go. Let's talk more about that when we come back.
Orson Welles show. We're living it.
Yeah, we really are. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. Welcome back to Hip and Humble Podcast. We wanted to thank our sponsors, Hip and Humble LLC and the Going Solo Network. If you like what you're hearing and you want to follow us, please support us on Instagram at HIPN_humble on Instagram. That's hipn.humble. Also, if you really like what we're doing, go ahead and check out our Patreon and our Etsy page, and you can find some of our weird finds of the week and a lot of other really fun stuff. Yeah, and for those of you, again, listening on the Going Solo Network, we're really, really excited to have you here. We're thankful for you listening to us and supporting us. And yeah, so back to what we were saying.
Town hall meetings. That's what they call them now.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
The Goldbergs.
There's still a show called The Goldbergs.
I know, it's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But before we get into more of these shows.
Island. If anybody remembers Fantasy Island.
Fantasy Island, yeah. Yeah, we have a really cool weird find of the week.
Yes, we do.
I know, it's pretty
I'm having a great time
about
just reading off these different shows because it's like, wow, we really haven't come that far.
Well, I think they've just adapted them.
Well, they have. They've just changed them. But our find of the week, you hear it? Wonder what that could be.
What could it be?
That could be a scary guy coming up.
Could be sword fighting.
It could be sword fighting. We could be. Well, our scary find is silver. And there is...
It's got a wooden handle.
Yeah, there's a wooden handle. There's
but it's
two
pieces, yeah.
2 pieces, and they're hammered metal, probably hammered tin, or stainless steel. So really nice little pieces, kind of decorative. But both of them they're not sharp edges, but they're straight
edges. Very straight edges. Yeah. And then they have embellished edges around the two different straight edges.
So they kind of look like a dustpan and kind of a little whisk broom.
It kind of looks like a chopping knife and then a little dustpan to go with it. They're matching.
Yeah, and they kind of match. Mm-hmm. So kind of took Aram a second to kind of figure it out.
Took me a second, yeah.
But butlers used to use them, or really, fancy restaurants and that kind of thing. The waiters would come in and use them, and when you would eat, everybody leaves a crumb or two on the table, and they would come by and they would take the little thing as the one with the handle, and they would brush your crumbs off into the little dustpan part. They're crumb catchers.
Crumb catchers. Not to be confused with a Cumberbatch.
But you don't find them very often. They're kind of unique.
Yeah, that's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're kind of pretty unique little items, but Aram will put it up on Etsy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And definitely take a picture of it for Instagram. But yeah, one of you lucky listeners can purchase it on Etsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really cool, really neat little thing.
It's going in my collection.
Yep.
Just started a new collection of crumb catchers. But it's a pretty cool little piece.
No, it really is.
Kind of takes you back to a different era. Or, folks like us that don't go to fancy restaurants that have people that catch crumbs.
Yeah,
we have dogs. So.
Yeah, we have dogs. Our dogs are more of our crumb catchers than...
Yeah. After we had one of our dogs die, we didn't have a dog. And that was one of the things I noticed. It was like, well, crap, I got to actually, sweep the floor every time because I don't have any dog to clean up all the crumbs.
Yeah, I will say, I had when I moved out, I got a cat, and
they don't do crumbs like a dog.
I mean, they eat them, but not as they're very tentative about it, and they don't really.
They're not enthusiastic. Crumb eaters.
They're not enthusiastic crumb eaters.
Dogs are very enthusiastic about crumbs.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
But if you don't have an enthusiastic dog, we've got a really great do-it-yourself crumb catcher. Mm-hmm. It's pretty neat.
It is really cool. Yeah. I think it's really, really neat.
Yeah, I like it. But that is our weird find of the week.
Oh yeah.
I really don't think I've ever seen one, even in an antique shop.
No. I've that's like I said, that's the only one I've ever seen.
And honestly, I'm not sure where that came from. To tell you the truth.
I don't know.
It just appeared. Maybe it's like a magic thing. I don't know.
It could be.
Sometimes down here in the basement, things just show up, and I really don't know where they came from. It's just, there it is. But back to our radio. I really like the radio part. I like the entertainment part of the radio.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? They had Ripley's Believe It or Not section. Radio.
Did they?
I have no idea how you would do that.
I don't know, but it sounds fantastic.
It really does.
You know what? Now, come to think of it, so we went to Branson, Missouri once upon a time. And they have the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Branson. I think they have a couple in a lot of those cities.
Williamsburg has one. I was in Williamsburg yesterday.
Williamsburg, Virginia.
Yeah, Williamsburg, Virginia.
Not New York.
Why would it be in Williamsburg, New York?
Well, I was just clarifying.
I didn't even know there was a Williamsburg, New York.
Mm-hmm, it's in Brooklyn.
Well, no, this is...
I mean, not in Brooklyn, but...
Not a chance on God's green earth I'm going to New York City or anywhere around there right now.
No, that's true.
Forget that.
Yeah, that's fair.
This would be Williamsburg, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Mm-hmm. And in that one, in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Branson, I do remember them talking about their radio show.
Oh, do you?
In one of their exhibits, yeah.
Yeah. But that's pretty neat. I mean, some of those things that fascinated us back in the 30s are fascinating us now.
Yeah, they're still fascinating.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I agree.
Tarzan, that's another one. Ed Sullivan Show.
Oh, that is timeless.
That is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
Which developed into The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Still the best ever. All the rest of them, not so good. Carson, he was good.
He was good. One of the founders of radio shows, one of the most prolific or notorious radio show producers was Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
Mm-hmm. And Orson Welles...
And he had his own show.
He did have his own show. And he had his own bit actors. So a lot of the bit actors that started in the 20s ended up pretty much being the bit actors throughout the entire golden age of radio. Because a lot of these producers, Orson Welles in particular, he would basically rely or trust on one or two of these bit actors. Orson Welles himself, he traveled with one of his bit actors to everything he ever did. Every radio show he ever did, he always had the same guy because they developed these relationships, and that was kind of what it was. So anybody that was trying to get into the industry at that time, they were kind of out of luck, at least if they were trying to become a bit actor.
Right.
Yeah.
So you also have the Mercury Theater on the air. The Mercury Theater.
The Mercury Theater. Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where you would, to me, I guess, like plays.
Yeah.
And stuff. So you could go anywhere from funny to scary.
Oh, yeah.
But it takes a great actor to be able to do that.
No, it really does. And the range, especially in voice acting, is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that would be one of the highlights of the golden age of radio is really displaying the range of different actors because
Does anybody even do that anymore?
Voice acting, yeah.
Well, no, not voice acting, but, be able to do everything. From comedy
like a savant.
To sad to, I would say Robin Williams would be one.
Yes.
Robin Williams could have, did anything.
Adam Sandler did that. He did.
I like Robin Williams better.
Yeah, but
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. But there are quite a few actors that have a really good range still.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would argue like Robert De Niro is probably one of the better ones.
I love Robin Williams.
Robin Williams is a great one. we will keep iterating that. Yes, but
Truth or Consequences.
Oh.
Have you seen that show?
I have not, but I would probably pick Consequences.
No, that's the name of the show, Truth or Consequences.
Well, if you had to choose between the two, which one would you pick?
Truth.
Okay.
But I remember that show, it was a game show, Truth or Consequences.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I want to say it was probably late 70s, 80s, at least.
Wow, 70s, huh?
Yep. Just wait. Time's coming, little boy. He's making fun of me, you guys.
I don't know about that.
Uh-huh.
No. Because if you guys didn't know, in the 70s, the dinosaurs were still around.
And now my son's going to get hit with a spoon. This won't be play acting for the radio. This will be an actual spoon.
Oh, don't do that.
That's right. Live in fear.
I'm always afraid.
I know.
Mm-hmm. No, but going back to Orson Welles, his bit actor that he took around was, or one of the ones that was involved was Sidney Breckner. And what I was going to say before was when we were talking about the length of time that it would take them to find different sounds, he would search around for weeks to find specific sounds for different sets, because a lot of the times for those shows, the way it would go is the bit actors would get the scripts about a week before everyone else, and they would see the different transitions and sounds that needed to be made. So they would have a lot more time to basically figure out what sound needed to be where. And as the industry progressed, they created different machines to mimic certain sounds, and they became universal. They would sell those machines like a rainmaker, or they would make the door sounds and so on and so forth. Well, he actually found the sound of, I forget this. It was the sound of basically slapping against skin. And what he did was he went to his mother's house about a week before the show, and he dropped a grape on the floor, and he accidentally stepped on the grape, and it made the perfect sound. He said it sent shivers up his spine, and so he put a microphone held it right up next to the floor and walked over grapes. And that was the sound that he used for basically hitting skin.
Ew.
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
Yuck. Yucky poo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's yucky.
Yeah, if you guys want to listen or want to read more about this, there's a really interesting article that highlights a few more of the common and more bizarre strategies to sound effects. The Sound Effects Bible is what it's called, and it'll walk you through a wider variety of effects, and it'll tell you how to create them.
Just for those nights when your kids won't go to sleep.
Mm-hmm. And you can make really odd sounds.
In the hallway.
Yeah. And
then you'll have therapy bills to pay later.
Yeah, but therapy's cheaper than some things.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Well, therapy's cheaper than medical bills and court fees for hurting them. Because you can't put it, because they won't sleep.
Well, you know.
But.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, indeed.
Kids are fun. All kinds of things you can learn from those radio shows.
Well, I think I'm going through the history here, I've been so impressed with how informative and how innovative a lot of these shows were. Like I was talking about earlier, the more I've looked at history, the more I've seen how being brave and pushing forward those ideas has really shaped culture. And I think,
well, it really has when you think about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've gone over and talked about, kind of the invention of radio and the radio waves and all of that kind of stuff.
All the different technology.
All the different technologies and stuff that have come in that. And then, all the different, not all of them, but a lot of the different manufacturers of the radios and kind of how that they've
progressed the culture.
And stuff. The culture quite a bit. But then, we're kind of up to the point where we're looking at how the radio was used, once it caught on and once, it was going and stuff, it did become a major form of entertainment, but also big business.
Yes. It was huge business.
They have another show that was a Palmolive Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gosh, I wonder if that's about Palmolive soap, Mm-hmm. So you've got a lot of the, different manufacturers and stuff of different products that are now producing shows. Not only to entertain, but also promote their product.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of evolved from there.
Well, if you think about it, too, from that perspective, this was the first time that brands could really nationalize so quickly.
Right.
The first time, these weren't the first times in history where we were seeing millionaires and things like that, but the quick millionaires.
Sure. A
lot of very fast money because you were able to promote and market in a way that you never had been before. There's a lot of spin-off
products and stuff that, come from a lot of this too, because back then you still had salesmen.
Mm-hmm.
So salesmen would come to your door with a whole host of products and you could buy from them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of those salesman samples are very highly sought after nowadays.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the salesman samples are incredible. They're incredible to collect.
Yeah, we just sold a salesman sample. It was a toy, but it was for a washing machine.
Oh yeah,
so,
we got a picture of that up on our on our Instagram. It's adorable,
really cute.
Sad to see that go. To be honest,
was.
Yeah,
I was like, oh crap, I really like the color pink that's on that. For some reason, I just love that color.
Well, it's like
why.
A pastel pink,
but not quite.
Yeah, no, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like a pastel pink.
It's not fully committed to pastel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really cool.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I think radio kind of help people when they would go to buy things and stuff like that, and then people would see these little miniatures of their products and stuff. it had a whole new industry. It gave a whole new dynamic to how we buy and sell.
Oh, yeah.
And, things that we collect today. Because a lot of people, I've seen some of those salesman samples of furniture. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. They are adorable. And you're going to pay a lot for them. Even at auction, you're going to pay a lot for those.
Well, because so many people are looking for them. They're really, and I mean, it makes sense because they are incredible to collect.
Well, and people don't realize how much craftsmanship went into them, because they literally, if you bought this dresser from whatever company, you were going to get the exact same dresser. So they were very, very intricately made.
They had to be handmade too, because obviously this is way after the Industrial Revolution, whenever these things were being used. So the majority of products were machine manufactured, and they were manufactured in different factories. But those small models like that, they couldn't scale down their entire factory to make one little tiny model. So they had to hand make these.
They'd pick out their best products. Mm-hmm. And then what was funny or interesting was when a new model came out, whatever salesman, however many salesmen there were that were selling the old model, they just gave them to them.
Yep.
So they'd see a kid in the yard and say, "Hey, here's a new toy," and that was a toy for them.
Yep. Yeah, and that in turn promoted their business.
It did. It did. So I think radio has had a massive effect on how we buy, how we purchase, how we know about products. How
people advertise, how people hear about different things. I mean, you talk about, there are certain industries even still that grow based on word of mouth, like a lot of contracting companies, servicemen, plumbers, electricians. A lot of these guys are.
Well, even local restaurants. I had a couple today, and actually was in the parking lot trying to get up to the shop, and I guess they knew I was from there since I had my dog with me, and was trying to tote bags and all this and whatnot. But they wanted to know best place to eat.
Yeah.
So they're like, we don't want the commercial stuff. We don't want. Give me the local. Where do locals go?
Send them to Amy's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course I did.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like,
guys, if you ever come to Fredericksburg, which please do, because we want you to come to our store.
Absolutely.
And definitely stop and eat at Amy's Cafe.
Yep.
It's a fantastic little restaurant.
The meatloaf. Wonderful.
Beautiful.
I've never had anything there I didn't like.
No, not at all.
Never.
They're everything on the menu.
Outside. It's right by the Rappahannock River.
Oh yeah, and a lot of bikers eat there, so you know it's good.
Oh yeah. And if they ever get the bridge fixed in downtown, it will be much easier to tell people how to get there.
Oh yeah.
But that's what people want. They want the local stuff.
Well, that's
all word of mouth.
That's all word of mouth. But before radio, that was the only way that people heard about things.
Yeah.
You'd have billboards and signs, but that's all local. Mm-hmm.
But now it almost seems like a lot of times that it's switching. Mm-hmm. Everybody hears all the commercials for this, that, and the other, but they're like, give me something else.
Well, and
give me the secret places.
And the funny thing is with what we're doing here with podcasts.
Yeah.
It's all word of mouth.
Oh yeah.
That's how podcasts get big. You don't really advertise a podcast as much. I mean, you do, of course, with social media. I obviously we post on our social media every day because we want to put out, we want people to be as excited about what we're doing as we are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not about that. It's about creating something that you guys enjoy and that we enjoy making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of that came from this radio culture.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting to see how much it really has shaped how we do things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, and it's going to be interesting to kind of see, what comes in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the key to understanding the present is understanding the past.
Yeah, but I'm going to bet that 100 years from now, they're still going to have the $64 million question.
Yeah, but it's just going to be
some kind of show.
The amount of money is going to change, of course.
I think you should keep it at 64,000. I just really,
just
for posterity. Absolutely.
And on that note, guys, it's about our time.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not fun.
No, but thank you guys so much for listening.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
We've had a good time talking about the radio.
We have had a good time.
Entertainment and stuff.
Yeah.
And
we
a lot of the antiques that are associated with it.
Absolutely. But we're excited about the toys, too.
Seriously love the toys.
I'm stoked for these toys.
That toys are one of those things that I have restricted myself from collecting. I would like that noted because I love toys.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And I have got some absolutely darling 1930s, late 30s, 40s Fisher-Price ducks.
Oh,
and they're at the shop right now.
They're adorable.
They're at the shop right now, downtown Fredericksburg, in the window. And I'm so hoping no one ever buys them and I can bring them home because I've already named them.
Oh, no. See, that's how you know it's bad.
Aram, Kale, Tabit.
Okay.
That's their names.
Real original.
You know what? They are original names.
They are, though.
Back off, Bonzo.
Oh, my goodness. Well, guys, thank you so much again for listening. We have so much fun, so we always get off and on tangents and stuff.
Aram does that to me.
Yeah, Mom just can't stop talking.
I used to be able to, have a straight line of thought, and then there was Aram.
Well, you needed some diversity.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, son.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
I know.
Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Stay hip.
And humble.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
I'm Cece Schatz, and I'd like to welcome you to Going Solo Network, #1 complete singles connection. We strive to connect singles in a positive and fun way. Together, singles will begin to make new and lasting friendships, learn more about themselves, and embrace our new today lifestyle of going solo. Being single doesn't mean you have to be alone, and you can live a full, fun life, bringing your vibration to a higher level of attraction. Going Solo Network is an interactive social support singles community with several platforms helping singles connect with other like-minded individuals. We cover things like relationship loss, divorce recovery, embracing being single, single parenting, restructuring relationships, relationship building, transition into dating, and dating itself, solo in business, and going solo travelers. Be sure to join our private and exclusive fun interactive websites designed for singles today who want to begin to embrace living and enjoying the space they're in. Together we will learn to open our hearts, our minds. We will begin to share and connect with others while exploring our personal life goals as we begin to make a place in our new life. We will start to move forward in going solo to actually living our best lives. Going solo doesn't mean you have to be alone. Today, together, let's begin changing your life. Today, join the singles at Going Solo Network and start to live your new life. I'll see you there on GoingSoloNetwork.com.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.